Wow. Yeah, we're not plugging this in. We just have some power resistors hanging out here and an electrolytic can. Nothing is secured. Wiring is chewed up. Hey guys, in this video I'm going to take a closer look at the two 7-inch Philco sets I picked up at the 2024 Fall Early Television Swap Meet in Ohio. They're both really rough. The chassis are really rough. The wood cabinet version is falling apart, and we got this Bakelite version that's filthy. Let's start with this one and try to clean it up a bit. Then we'll take a look at the chassis. This cabinet is absolutely filthy, but underneath all the dirt, it actually looks to be in really good condition. I don't think there are any cracks or chips in this at all. Finished basic cleaning on the cabinet. I used Windex to wipe dirt off, and then Novus number 2 to polish it. There are 4 screws behind this bezel I'm going to take out now, and that should let me get better access to that for cleaning. Condition wise, it's pretty good. Certainly no major cracks or chunks broken, but there are scratches on the underside of the top lid, like something clawed at this or scratched at it. And for some reason, somebody drilled a couple holes in the top and inserted some 14 gauge copper wire and twisted it on the backside. I'm guessing to make a little handle, which, well, at least as in the far back, I could probably rub some wax into it, furniture touch-up wax, to plug the holes and get something that's close to color, the matching cabinet color. Right now, let's take a look at one of the chassis. Rough though it may look, this is definitely the better of the two chassis. There's also a little bag on this that had some of the knobs and what appear to be chassis bolts. These knobs, I believe, are only used on these sets, with the exception maybe of the cast metal channel indicator. I expect it's going to be really hard to find replacements. While I was at the TV swap meet, I looked through boxes of knobs, thousands of knobs. I don't remember seeing these, so that's not a good sign. I do have this outer knob. It doesn't want to go on quite right for some reason. I need another inner knob. They look like this. A little metal insert knurled outside and a split piece of metal on the back to fit into the shaft. And then the fine tuning for this, which I think I might have, I think it might be the same as what's used on a number of console models. So this is a 50T-701 and 702. I think 701 is the Bakelite, 702 is the wood. And the 50 stands for 1950, which is pretty late for electrostatic CRTs. I think it's the last year anybody made them. Motorola introduced their 8-inch electrostatic sets at 3 models. I think those were sold in 1950. Otherwise, I think this might be it. It was the last hurrah for electrostatic budget TVs. Design-wise, it's unlike anything I've worked on before. Conceptually wise, if you look at the schematic, it doesn't look that different, but physically, it's constructed quite a bit different. Maybe the closest thing I've worked on is an Emerson 639. Alright, let's talk about this a bit more. So it is a 7JP4 electrostatic CRT mounted in the middle, which is right off the bat one thing that's unusual. Most electrostatic sets, part of the reason the appeal to them is that they're small and they put the CRT on one side or the other. This they raised up pretty high and put dead center, which means overall, yeah, they're smaller than a magnetically deflected 10 or 12-inch set, but they're, as far as 7-inch sets go, they're fairly big and they're also fairly heavy. Also has a built-in speaker, which adds to the size, because normally it'd be mounted to the cabinet and it'd be on one side or the other of the speaker. They have it directly in line. Both speakers are annihilated, so to deal with that, I imagine it's a standard 4-inch round permanent magnet speaker, so not impossible to find. Tuner. This looks kind of... Oh! That's... fine tuning knob. Just shoved into the shield. So that is a Lochtel tube in the tuner, and there are several other Lochtel tubes. So unlike the usual, say, 6SN7, this uses a 7N7. This Philco being Philco, I guess. Maybe they wanted to use up all their Lochtel tubes. Well, that was a good find. So now I'm just missing, maybe I'll find it somewhere in here, missing that one inner knob. It has a transformer. Yes, this has a power transformer. And I don't think it's a hybrid. I think that powers the entire set, so it's a cold chassis. Hybrid meaning some sets still use a transformer just for the filament or just for B+, and otherwise it's hot. But no, I think this is a complete isolated set. Fine tuning's done with a dial cord. Thank God this one is intact. I think it's gone on the other chassis. This tuner looks daunting because it has a whole bunch of adjustable slugs. I got 4 sticking out the front and at least 3 more on top, and just to add to the fun, 2 trimmer caps of a rather primitive type. It's a lot of adjustments on the tuner. I hope I don't have to touch any of them. This chassis appears to have most, if not all, of the tubes. I think they're all missing from the other chassis. It's rusty, but not completely horrible. Has some shielding, but nothing on the bell, just on the neck here. The deflection plates are right about here in this area, so that's where you'd want your main shielding to be. Because stray magnetic fields can very easily upset the electron beam, especially when it's right by a power transformer. Now this I thought was odd. I briefly glanced at the schematic, but as far as the component locator, physical diagrams of where the parts are located and what parts are what, I haven't looked at. The Sam's Photo Fact is freely available. This cord's not good enough. It's freely available on the electronic television, early television website. I don't think that's the original power cord. It's a really ancient radio type. So oh my god. So I'll have to study the SAMs, because the SAM shows photos of the chassis and has call-outs and identifies the parts. Because I don't know what's in here. Okay, well I'm peering into it now. I can see there's 1 selenium rectifier in there. And maybe there's some bleeder resistors or something. Although it's not a series-strung set, so it shouldn't need the ballast tube like, say, a Motorola set would use. So there's nothing labeled on here. Okay. And then there's a high voltage box, which is also seemingly overcomplicated. Oh, I see. I was wondering what this huge hunk of metal is. It must be for shielding for the CRT. So rather than put a shield around the whole CRT, we'll just put a steel wall between that side and this side of the chassis. And the high voltage stuff is in here. It is an RF type, using a 6V6 to drive a flyback kind of, or Tesla coil kind of step-up generator. Should swing up. I don't see any screws. There we go. Can't see too much. We'll see more on the other chassis. There's... oh, I see. The 6V6 that drives the high voltage coil, I think it's inside that can, is mounted horizontally up top, and there's a high voltage rectifier. A nasty looking coil. So that is not the same type of coil, say, an Admiral 19A11 or a Motorola VT71 would use. This might be unique to these Philcos. So if one or the other's bad, that could be a showstopper. I wonder what that is too. Yeah, not unfamiliar territory at all. There is a big old coil looking thing. See that guy down there? What the heck is that all about? It's not encased. There's a transformer next to it. Could be audio output or vertical blocking oscillator. But what is that thing? Alright, well that's top side. Let's take a look at the bottom side. Oof, what a mess. Alright, so way back when somebody tried to do something with this set, they it's tacked in. Wow. Yeah, we're not plugging this in. We just have some power resistors hanging out here and an electrolytic can. Nothing is secured. The wiring is chewed up. We got another one here. It's not secured very well. We have wire. Oh, that's just a loop. Whoa. Wow, we have parts that are not soldered, that are just hanging here. We have really, really crummy solder joints. Sanded power resistor that's completely shot. We're going to need some help on this one. So that's this chassis. Let's take a look at the other one. Ooh, hang on. I think that is a field coil speaker. In which case, I think we're going to have to try reconing it. Oh boy. Okay, here's the other one, which I'm not sure how to put this down. Try putting it on this side. So part of the problem with putting this down is this is supposed to be screwed down and it is not, and it gets in the way when you try to set it down. Although, you know, aside from this one, well, you'll see on top that it's chewed up, this one is in better shape. So this just needs to get screwed down. You can see pretty easily where it's supposed to go. Just need to get some nuts on that. There we go. Okay. Because nobody worked on this one, it still has all the original bumblebees in it. So actually this will be my reference for fixing the other one. This one's way cleaner underneath. I think it's 100% original. That's a good help. And actually this is less corroded. It just looked worse because, well, let's see. On top, I have the high voltage box, but all the screws are gone. And all the tubes are gone. Now we can see what's going on in that high voltage area. So we got a whole bunch of big old bumblebees here. There's a coil on the other side, which now that I take a look at it, that's small. Huh, so yeah, boy, we'll have to ohm that out and really hope it's still good. See another problem instantly too. That weird coil I was looking at on the other set, there's supposed to be two of them. And I just looked at the other chassis and there's just the center post, the whole coil's gone. So, I don't know what those are for, what they're supposed to go to, but apparently we need one if we want to get both of these going. So actually, yeah, it's filthy, and unfortunately, because the tubes are out, all the tube sockets have crud down in where the pins go. But aside from that, this one looks to be in better shape. So when I decide to start working on these, I think I'll go with this one first, actually. It's still not going to be easy. I like a challenge, but I do have my limits. And I especially don't like working on sets that have unobtainium parts. I'm definitely going to want to be checking out that flyback as best I can before launching into doing any work. Like recoating the speaker as well. It's both the voice coils moving, look like they're intact, but yeah, that sure looks like a field coiled speaker. It's probably part of the power supply, and it's got to be the audio output transformer. Oh, the fine tuning is good on this tuner. Thought it was busted. I don't have any knobs for this one, so that's going to be a problem. Yeah, they left one tube in there, the tuner tube. I think it's a 7F8. Yeah, a little stubby. A little stubby Lochtel high frequency tube. Huh. Well. Hey, if anybody out there has a spare chassis or spare parts for these, or has a restored one, is familiar with them, has any advice for me, I'd appreciate it. Here's the high voltage cage for this guy and some tube shields. Check out that power cord. No, we won't be plugging this set in. There's more bare wire than there is insulation left on this. Jeez. But I do have the high voltage cage, the whole thing. Let's see, just all the screws are missing. So right here now, what I'm going to do is photograph everything, replace all the missing screws and nuts to make these stable, put one of them in the Bakelite cabinet after it's cleaned, tighten it all down, put the knobs on, put the back on, which I do have. Did get both backs. Kind of funky in that the CRT sticks out the back a little bit, but they put a hole in the middle. I'm not entirely sure why, but they have a hole. So when it sits on the set, it's something like that. So you can see the base of the CRT. Maybe so you could stick leads in there for doing something. Test probes, maybe at the factory to do some final adjustment. I don't know. I don't know why those are like that, but that's how they're supposed to be. Found some great photos of these sets online, so that's another big help. They said the whole Sam's Photo Effect has been scanned and freely available, and their service instructions and riders as well. I guess one thing we can do on both of these is test the picture tubes. All the pins are tight. Sometimes these rip out and stay behind with the socket. Alrighty, let's give this guy a try. With all that shielding, I cannot tell if the filament's lighting up. Let's see. Shorts look good. Short looks good. Cutoff control, kinda not doing anything. We have 0 emissions. Fooled before, so let's make sure that everything is. Oh, the emissions are moving when I do that. Something wasn't making good contact. The cutoff's working now. Kinda, sorta, maybe not. Oh yeah, just barely. The extreme end of it. Emissions are still going up a little bit. I think it's waking up. So we'll let this sit a little while. It's not dead, but it's not great either. If I cheat and put the cutoff on a different range, then I definitely can manipulate it more. We've tested this pretty good. Emissions are definitely into the green, well into the green now. Oh yeah, final test. If you have a good strong one, when you check emissions, you can sometimes see a faint dot on the front of the CRT face. Oh yeah, and I do. And its brightness changes with the contrast control. I've seen better. But that is the best indication I can give you when you test one of these. It's just the meter reading is you really need to see a glow on the phosphor. And this can produce one, but given how bad the cutoff control is working, I'm thinking this is probably pretty worn out. Okay, let's check the other one. Alright, let's check the other one. Base is loose on this guy, which makes me a little nervous. Oof. Well, it's coming up. Okay, well, we're definitely well into the green. Cutoff does do something. Yeah, this one has better emissions than the other one, that's for sure. Pretty solid life test too. And finally, can we see the spots? Yep. Similar to the other one. Okay, so looks like we have two probably workable CRTs, but right now that's the least of my concerns. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's mostly that coil that's got me concerned, that missing coil. If you ever need service info, first place you should go is the earlytelevision.org website. Assuming you have a post-war TV, you go to post-war TV, technical information. It's broken down by brand. We have a Philco, we'll click on Philco, and there's a list of models and chassis, and there is the 50T-701, Sam's 140-7, and there it is. Tuner, and a portion of the power supply. Okay, we got some line bypass caps. We'll want to replace those. Must be two seleniums inside that box. We get plus 310, plus 120, and minus 3 volts out of the supply. And this must be filament for the other tubes. So what are those two coils on top? Here's the oscillator. So vertical oscillator uses a blocking transformer for that. Horizontal's also got a blocking oscillator transformer. Gotta hope those two are good. Those might be what those two coils are on top. Oh, but that looks like a choke. Annoying noise. Sam split it up over 3 pages. And there's another one there. So let's go into the plus 310 supply, 20K resistor with control. Other side of that goes to that choke. If we go back and look at the previous page along the bottom, and it goes to that choke. Are those just plate choke for the power for the horizontal output tubes? That's not so bad then. That means they're not some fancy exotic. Yeah, L1 and L2. It's not some fancy exotic transformer or anything. They're just filter chokes. So let's see what the parts list has. Resistor, transformer, filter choke. Big, wow, 3 Henry, 1.7K. There's a lot of turns of some really fine wire on that. And the only replacement part number is Philco. No Stancord, no Merit, no Chicago. Crap. But at least we know it's 3 Henrys. Can handle 0.15 DC current, and it has a resistance of 1,700 ohms. So that's something. I'm sure I could come up with something that would, I mean, that's all it's doing is just being a filter choke. It's not the end of the world. These are the ones that'd be far more complicated to replace. Two different specs for speakers. One of them for sure is a field coil. Why did I list SP1 and SP2? All same part number. Here's a better look at the wooden cabinet version. It's pretty set. And if it wasn't for the bottom couple inches, it'd be a no-brainer to restore it. That's a little daunting. So even if I cut a new bottom, this side is deteriorated at the bottom and veneer loss, and there's a chunk of the front gone. I'm not sure what was here. It might just be a strip of veneer that came off. Oh no, more likely it was fluting like this, and the whole chunk of wood just split off. Not impossible, not impossible. I think what it really comes down to is, can I get both chassis working reasonably? And I already know the knobs will be nearly impossible to find. But stranger things have happened. I will certainly hang on to all this stuff, at least for a few years, because things tend to show up in unexpected times and unexpected places. So who knows? Hey, if anybody's got a spare cabinet for a Philco 50T, I think this is a 702 or 701. Hey, let me know. I do actually have a back to the set, and they are not the same. The back for the wood and Bakelite versions are different, so I'm very glad to get both of them. You can see it's a little chewed up, but it connects to 4 points. Actually, inset little metal, threaded metal inserts into the Bakelite. Just hold on the back. Neat. Why there's a hole in the middle of the back, I don't know, but there is. But there it is. And we have a nice wasp nest on it. And a hunk of solder for some reason. And there we are after quite a bit of polishing and cleaning. It's in pretty good shape overall. I managed to get all the knobs on except for that one inner knob. It's going to be quite a challenge to get it working electrically, I think, but I'm up to it. But not today, right now. I'm going to be getting back to working on some color sets. So that's going to be it for now. Hope you enjoyed this look at Philco 50T-701 and 702 7-inch electrostatic sets from 1950.